Hello guys, I'll just talk quickly about the news that popped up after my drawing. It's just a little bit, some kind of thematic connections and visual connections. Okay, so um, remember that the Catholic Church is in a crisis. It's in a schism. Okay, and this is connected to my previous drawing from June 24th. Where I painted unholy breaking of bread. And then we saw on July 1st these consecrations of bishops in Switzerland took place. And it's now the biggest schism in the Catholic Church. Well, in modern time, okay? So what's happening now is that so July 4th, Pope Leo went to Lampedusa and in compassion with migrants. Okay, so um, so this photograph was taken of Pope Leo gazing into the Mediterranean Sea at the I think it's gate to Europe or something like that. Door to Europe or something. Okay, artwork. So what I'm saying is that so the day after this drawing that I did that has this watery and tsunami. It's named Tsunami, my drawing. So the Pope stands by the water looking out into the water like that the day after. Okay. Also the same day in Lampedusa he wore these clothes that look to the left. You see some blue wavy stripes on his clothes and well, if you put my drawing on top of that, his face, you can see that it kind of fits to his clothes that he wore the day after. On July 4th, he wore these clothes and somehow it kind of matches to my drawing. His clothes matches to my drawing. And why is this significant? Well, because because the Catholic Church is in the center stage of the news right now with the largest schism of modern time, this rupture of the Roman Catholic Church. And also that I just made a drawing of that, I just made a drawing connecting to that. And now we see it kind of continue in some kind of continuous interconnectivity, some kind of it's lingering, some kind of connection here. Okay, but not only that, we can see. So today is July 7th. So there's been 4 days of news that, and here are some of the news. You had a plane having a hard landing into the water in New York. So I'm going from top left corner. Okay, a plane had a hard landing into the river of New York, East River. Then you had unidentified metal spheres found in Australian beaches. Okay, again connection to water, and this is also top news. Okay, so right now since July 3rd, there's been many news that are related to water and beaches. And I just find it interesting that there is so many connections right now. it's like disproportionate ever since the time of my drawing on July 3rd. So let's continue. July 4th, there were this crowd in Newport Beach celebrating it was chaos and vandalism, reportedly. And 400 people were arrested at the beach. Okay, again, the beach. So now we're at this one, okay. You can see on the screen. I'm going to take the rightmost at the end, okay. So we also had, but I have another page of top news, okay. So a new record was just broken of solo rowing from California to Hawaii, breaking 2 records, okay. That's also just I guess it's July 6. You know, it's just lots of this water related news that's going on all over the place. Typhoon in China that is creating flooding, but also there were what's it called? Well, so it's a water thing there going on. You also had roof. This is also top news. Roof collapsing in floods in the US, and images of that, and you see that the water is flooding from above. You see, it's interesting because that also has some kind of just a little bit of a connection to my drawing, just a little bit, you know. Then we have this, you know, it's like, so the rightmost here, it's also top news. If I put it on the side, so young blood receives support, okay. If I put it on the side, it kind of looks like a bit like my drawing, is something I noticed also in the way that the colors and the way that there are these lines. Wait, maybe I'll change place with that. You see, it's kind of similar. Just wanted to say. Also, we have more things going on in China. They just made a rare ballistic missile test in the South Pacific Ocean, right? And that's, yeah. So if you read about that, that's something that hasn't happened in a very long time. Also, Canada, this is also like all of these are top news in the world right now, and maybe you think that I'm just, you know, there really are more about water right now, and I'm not. That's how it is, okay? So Canada making historical is buying really many submarines right now. So it's most ever, as they just made this contract with Germany for buying these submarines. Okay, so this is also in the top news, and so here's the thing: there's only been 3-4 days since my last video, and we've seen all of this news. Remember, I'm mentioning the Pope first, right? Here, and saying that, look, he's gazing out into the ocean, and this is, remember that this is just after the schism. The schism just happened in the in Switzerland, in relation to the Roman Catholic Church. And it's so interesting to see, like, it's not often you see the Pope just, he has the back to the camera and he is looking out to the sea. And in addition, the same day, right, you had him wearing clothes that matches to my drawing. And yeah, and this is just one day after the drawing, so that's why it's so significant. So if it only was this, right, I could have stopped there. I could have just said, yeah, I could have said, yeah, that's all, you know, you only need to look at what the Pope just did there. But then I also show you that, oh, it seems to suddenly pop up many top news stories about water in different ways, you know, from the some kind of chaotic celebration of Independence Day in US at the beach of California with 400 arrests, to Chinese flooding and Australian weird objects in the beaches, New York plane going down into the water, new breaking records of rowing, like yeah, and China testing new ballistic missiles in the South Pacific. It's very many things happening at the same time, okay? Hope you're, I mean, that's what I'm showing to you, that this is how it is. And yeah. So as I said, I could have just stopped here, like I could have just mentioned the Pope and how he is again, the correlation between my previous drawing having to do with the unholy breaking of bread that I call the drawing, and the current schism and rupture of the church, which is historical. I could have just stopped here and say, look at him. He's gazing at the sea, into the vast sea of the Mediterranean. You even see the boat, right? There's a little boat there to the right. You see? Similarly to my drawing, it also has a little boat there to the right. Yeah, that's how it is. And you could also see, like, if you want, you know, you could see the immigration as the migrants. There's always different logic to this, right? You could see the migrants as a tsunami to civilization, right? That's one perspective. That there is this perspective also, the politically incorrect perspective, right? Which is also a perspective. So you could see it like that. You see, it's valid in that way. That there are many ways of seeing this. So yeah. And you see, let me mention something more. The balls, the unidentified metal spheres in Australia that just popped up, okay? Well, in my drawing, there is sort of a ball, okay? And I told you that this ball is rolling on the water, rolling and pulling with it the tsunami, okay, in my drawing. And in Australia, you suddenly see these spherical objects onto the beaches. you know, it's kind of similar to the idea of my drawing having a a ball, a squared circle ball rolling onto the ocean to the civilization. Yeah, so, and remember these top news stories are popping up after my drawing, right? And that's a completely different thing. I'm not I'm not it would have been different if I made the connection later on, you know, and you know, started off from that, you know, but now I'm making a drawing first and then I'm looking at the news. And yeah. So there's something going on here, right? It's quite obvious. There's some like I don't know how this can just be be ignored. I don't know. How can people ignore this? Whatever. We'll see where this leads. And yeah. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I should have mentioned this ball thing earlier, okay, in the video, but I just thought of it that yeah, there are balls rolling into the civilization, literally going on, and yeah. So that's my video. See you guys. Bye bye.